get a little closer for you. You
Yeah,
can see
no,
that it says
I thought it was
Aruba.
an Acura logo hat. I was like about to ask if you traded in the Tesla before I realized what it was.
No, I'm thinking about it though. My 12-volt battery died on me when I got back from Aruba. First show back. That's why I wasn't on last week. Was on vacationing in Aruba, so I get back and freaking car won't turn on, won't use my key to get in, and it turns out it was probably the 12-volt battery. So I somehow it woke up in the middle of the night, Sunday into Monday, and it was like, thank God. But yeah, now I have to figure out. My closest Tesla service center is like 3.5, 4 hours away. The next mobile appointment to come out and deal with it is in 2 weeks. So 2.5 weeks. And, being a Tesla, like, I don't want to touch it and mess something up, especially, electrically, battery wise. Um, so, I mean, good news is it should only be like a couple $100 to fix that 12-volt battery. But yeah, nice little surprise when you get back from vacation.
What a shame that a car that runs entirely on battery alone and nothing else, the battery dies.
I mean, it's not the big battery, the $10,000 one that makes the car go. It's
Right.
the little 12-volt battery that every car has that like operates the lights and the navigation and all of that stuff. But you would just think in a car that runs solely on electricity, you would get some sort of update that your 12-volt battery is low. Let alone, I mean, the car died when it was plugged into the fucking wall, Keith.
That's crazy. Oh, so you had it
So
plugged in the whole time you were away?
yeah, and it wasn't charging. It was supposed to just cut off at 80%, but while it was plugged into the wall, the freaking Tesla, the small battery died. So now I'm in a bind about figuring, do I want to replace it myself? Do I want to wait? Like, it's just a headache, but um,
Have you thought
yeah,
about the cars? Do you think you'll betray Elon Musk and look at something new maybe?
probably. I mean, I don't. It really pissed me off. The fact that my options are like 4 hours away. They'll tow it there for free, but I have to go get it. So I have to spend 4 hours in the car with the tow and then drive it back the entire day, or fly entire day and cost. Wait for 2.5 weeks, be carless. Like those are my options that Tesla presented me with because I didn't get an update about my 12-volt battery. And after the fact, like I'm talking to customer service, like, yeah, batteries die every 3 years. It was 2021, it's 2024. Do the math, idiot, is essentially what they said. I'm like, well, I don't freaking know that. Like, car's electric. I didn't know it has two batteries. Shame on me. So, Tesla's taking a hit in my book.
Not a good advertisement for Tesla today.
No.
Anyways, we got an interesting card coming up. Just want to remind everybody at home, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you're a Tesla owner or a Tesla hater, let us know in the comments. We would love to interact. Maybe you could sway Tom as to which new car he's going to get. So definitely leave us a comment down below. Also, check us out on social media @_ Pickin Winners on X and Instagram. I'm at Pickin Keith, and Tom is at Pickin Fights Tom. Now we are the Pickin Winners channel now. Pretty much, I mean, I'm sorry, Pickin Fights. Pretty much everything is Pickin Fights. So I might just switch over to Pickin Fights Keith as well at this point. But yeah, that's who we are. We're Pickin Fights, and you can find us on Spotify as well for audio, video, all that good stuff. YouTube. I'm not forgetting anything, am I, Tom?
I don't know, but that seemed like a perfect opportunity to roll the intro. So here we go.
It's time!
What's
Hardly.
everybody? We're back for another episode of Pickin Fights. I'm Keith, joined as always by Tom. Tom, how are you? How was vacation?
Oh, Aruba was fantastic. I don't know if you mentioned it last week, where I was or why I wasn't there or where I was, but
Yeah.
shit, man, I was in Aruba. Second time I vacationed there while we're doing this show. It was a fantastic time. We had some beautiful dinners. Me and my girlfriend had a great time, and the weather was awesome. I got pretty tan. I don't know if you can tell, but got pretty tan and excited to be back talking Pickin Fights and talking UFC with you. A little bit of a dead of a car, but a lot of stuff happened while I've been gone in terms of the UFC. It's too many things to count. What's going on with you?
Nothing new. We had Joe on last week. Really appreciate him stepping in, but we did mention and he did really well as well with his picks. Just want to mention that with that Corey Sandhagen card against Umar Nurmagomedov. Umar coming out on top. Solid fight for Corey. he didn't really do anything offensively. And Joe was right on the money with a lot of his picks. But yeah, we did mention that you were in Aruba, sent you our best wishes and everything. Nothing really new outside of like now Conor McGregor calling out Max Holloway for after he fights Ilya Topuria, and getting twerked on by some like tiny little blonde girl. Did you see that video of him walking away dressed as a biker or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, it took me a second to recognize that it was actually him. I mean, he shaved his head, shaved his beard. I know he goes back and forth from the beard and his hairstyle changes, but to see him fully bald again, wearing a biker's jacket, I mean, this guy just changes his look, more than a comic book character. Like, I mean, he's just consistently different versions of himself.
Yeah, I thought that was either like Johnny Sins or Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't sure who that was in that video for the first like 5 times I watched it, even though the caption had something to do with like McGregor, I think. But
I was like waiting for him to come out. I'm like,
yeah, so he's out partying, he's out drinking, he's doing the bare knuckle thing. I don't know now at this point. Like Chandler called him out and was like, "You're clearly unserious in the grieving process of your career or something." And so he goes, "All right, if that's how you feel, Max, what are you doing in December?" So maybe Max has a choice now to make between fighting for the belt and like maybe he fights Conor for the BMF. But they did just announce that fight for the belt. That seems to be signed, sealed, delivered. So, anyways, exciting stuff coming down the pipe. But let's jump into this card. Let's start this main card off.
Let's do it.
All right,
get rid of this Pepto-Bismol ad. And
or you could Pepto-Bismol before or something?
No, I'm not. I'm not even getting tailored ads. These are just general things. I had one for women's healthcare product at the bottom here. Tapology really needs to figure out their advertisement situation.
I don't know, man. Seems a little fishy.
I was gonna say, what's that face you're making? It looks like you're like modeling in a mirror or something.
That's like the meme with Christian Bale when he's like, you know, the Chad face or whatever. Anyways, I hope nobody goes back and watches that. But we got Yana Kunitskaya, now known as Yana Santos, going in there against Chelsea Chandler. And I will forever like have a hard time taking Chelsea Chandler seriously after I think it was Norma Dumont maybe beat her up and like Chelsea Chandler ran away across the cage. Like her record's pretty solid. But who did that loss come to? I think it was
Norma Dumont and
Norma Dump Truck. This episode's horrible. I'm gonna get canceled. So I don't know, but it's tough because Yana Santos, ever since she got married and had a baby, she hasn't really come back looking too great. She is the favorite in this fight. She's got a lot of experience, lost a lot of close fights recently. 3-2 over her last 5. Yeah, there's that clip.
Literally ran away and wasn't even good at it. Ran right into the cage.
Yeah, she got nothing done by.
She didn't try to
was like, "Oh, hey, beat me up some more, please, just in a different spot." Yeah,
actually, I want to get hit when I'm up against
like that's something. It looked like a child running away from their parent, like a scared child, like get over here. And that parent happened to be very abusive. I think I'm going to go with Yana Santos. It's tough, but she's lost a lot of close fights, and like she hasn't looked terrible. Chelsea Chandler, on the other hand, I just cannot take her seriously after that moment. And I agree with Vegas here with like the -125 favorite for Yana Kunitskaya Santos because it feels right. Like it's not like a definite that she's going to win this or anything, but she's been in some close ones recently, and I think that she beats Chelsea Chandler 9 times out of 10. So I hope she proves me right. I'm going with Yana Santos. What do you got?
Yeah, so I just wanted to go back and look at, Yana Santos's history in particular different weight classes because she fought and she lost to Carl Hoser by split decision at featherweight. To canceled bout at 35 with Norma Dumont. So she was expecting to fight at that weight back in January, and then she withdrew. Now she's going to be back at 135 pounds. She was previously at like 145 here for Carl Hosa. Macy Choi-Song was supposed to be at 35. So a career 35, I'm not necessarily concerned about her hitting that weight Even though her most recent weight was 145 pounds. She had a split decision. So, like you said, didn't look bad there. Close fight about a year ago. Another long, semi-close fight with Holly Holm. Got knocked out by Alrina Adana Ketlin Vieira decision win. Julia Stolyarenko decision victory. That one doesn't age super well, especially when you look at her competition. Got a knockout via ground and pound to Julia Stolyarenko as well. So iffy, like you said, awful look during the Norma Dumont fight, just totally overwhelmed. And then Joseanne Nunez, she ended up picking up a decision win there. She looked a lot better in that fight than she did against the Norma Dumont fight. It's hard to chalk that Norma Dumont fight up to anything because it wasn't her first, time in the UFC. She's not that young of a fighter. So really came out of nowhere. And I think this is going to be basically a fight. It's what's Chelsea Chandler's going to show up? Are you going to get the Chelsea Chandler that when she gets overwhelmed, she literally tries to find a way out of the fight? Yeah, running away, scared. Oh my God, it's like secret isn't what I'm dealing with. And I don't even know about digital campaigning. She going to find a way out, or is she would have another contest looking more akin to when she fought Josiane Nunez. Yana Santos is the favorite. Tapology is going the other way. 78% are on Chandler, and I'm going to go with Tapology here. I'm going to go with Chelsea Chandler to step up and get this one done. I think Yana Santos, I don't think she's going to be as physically overwhelming as Norma Dumont is, and I think maybe Chelsea learned something and turned a corner, but we will see. What do you think? Well, we know what you think.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Yana. She's fought some really good competition in the past. Now we got Danny Barlow versus Nikolai Veretennikov. I think I got that one right. Thank you. He's making his UFC debut, so you got to cut me some slack there. He did fight in the Contender Series, lost, and then went to another promotion, UFL, working his way back up. But Danny Barlow, on the other hand, one fight in the Contender Series. Last time around, knocked out Josh Quinlan. Nickname Left Hand to God. No spaces. 2 is the number 2. This guy's kind of terrifying. I'm going to go with 8-0 Danny Barlow. Left Hand to God. He's fought in some really good promotions in the past. He's making a name for himself right now. And the nickname is very fitting. Just want to say that again. Left Hand to God. What do you got, Tom?
Yeah, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to follow you on that pick. I just wanted to look up and see Josh Quinlan, who I think Josh Quinlan coming into the UFC, I had higher expectations for him. 6-1, picked up a second loss to the guy we're talking about now, Danny Barlow. So I think Danny Barlow has just proved himself to have lightning in that left hand. Like you said, 8-0. Decision here against a 1-0 guy. He's clearly still getting used to the sport and still honing his skills as a well-rounded UFC fighter. But I think the win over Josh Quinlan is definitely a step in the right direction. You have a guy from Kazakhstan training out of California, 34 years old, so a little bit older, a little bit smaller too, doesn't have the reach. Coming from King's MMA, so definitely a good gym. With Nikolai Veretennikov, had that loss to Michael Morales, on the Contender Series, and then was outside of the UFC up until now, getting knockouts in the UFL. I can't say I'm particularly familiar with the promotion, but I'm going to go with Danny Barlow. He's been in the UFC, fought UFC level competition, knocked out UFC level competition. The only time we've seen Nikolai at and around the UFC level is a decision loss to Michael Morales a little over 3 years ago. Now that he's 34, he could be a little bit more advanced, but he could be a little bit slower. It'll be interesting to see, but I'm going to be going with Danny Barlow here as I continue to fight off these freaking ads from my screen. Jesus Christ, I need to get an ad blocker.
I'm looking forward to that fight. And I'm also looking forward to this one as well, Chepe Mariscal versus Damon Jackson. Chepe is a guy who, for me, when I took notice of him is when he fought Jack Jenkins, because Jack Jenkins is a prospect that I'm particularly high on. Jack Jenkins throws a really nasty leg kick. His combinations are really surprising. And Chepe he had all the answers for Jack in that fight, and ultimately won. I think he hurt Jack Jenkins, if I'm correct. But anyways, Damon Jackson, I think he has the grappling advantage in this fight. But Chepe Mariscal showed even in his last fight around that he's got the IQ to go 3 rounds with somebody like Damon Jackson, who is a pretty intelligent fighter, does get caught from time to time, does get himself into some really nasty situations. I think he's going to shoot some takedowns because the striking of Chepe Mariscal is going to be too great for Damon Jackson. He's very creative. He's got really nice combinations. Like Jack Jenkins, throws a really nasty leg kick and checks one right back. It's really going to be a test of how Chepe is off of his back. I think against Damon Jackson and up against the cage, I think he's going to be able to, move his hips, get out of bad spots, and put Damon Jackson kind of like lure him into a difficult position. One of the ones, like we saw him get knocked out by who was that? Rob Font and
Danny Gay, you mean?
Yeah, Danny Gay. I always get the two of them mixed up.
Always.
Yeah, for years now. But I think Chepe Mariscal's got like similar power, similar boxing. I'm looking forward to this fight. So I got Chepe here. What do you got, Tom?
Yeah, this is a good fight, and it is a good matchup. And I like what you said about the fighter intelligence, because I think Damon Jackson has similar, fighting intelligence. But he takes a lot more damage than Chepe Mariscal does. I mean, Damon Jackson is a guy who we've seen come back from losing situations time and time again, kind of pull off wins that we wouldn't really expect. But I think Chepe Mariscal does have good fighter intelligence. And we are seeing an older Damon Jackson, like you can see there. He's 36 years old. If I could get rid of this freaking ad, for God knows what that even is. My team deserves better. I think, to boil it down, I think Chepe Mariscal has a little bit quicker hands, a little bit more power in his hands. He's shown the ability to go to the distance. He is an intelligent fighter. So is Damon Jackson, but Damon Jackson just leaves himself open to getting hit a little bit too much, a little bit more than Chepe Mariscal. So Chepe, I believe, is going to land the more impactful punches in those combinations. And should Damon Jackson go and shoot for a takedown, I believe that Chepe is going to have some solid takedown defense. I think we could see Damon Jackson be a little bit creative when it comes to the ground game and maybe pull off some positions. But ultimately, I trust Chepe to get this one done. A little bit of the younger fighter in his prime, a little bit smaller, but a lot more dense. And I think only giving up 2 inches in striking is not going to be too big of an issue for him. So I'm going with Chepe Mariscal. And the rest of Tapology is I'm actually going to go with Chepe to get this win by decision, because I think, Damon Jackson is still going to be fairly durable enough to get to the end of the fight.
Yeah, I think so. This next one is interesting because we have a guy making his UFC debut against Chris Gutierrez, who's been around for a while. And so I've had to go back and look at some UFC Fight Pass highlights of Quang Lee, I believe is how you say his name. This guy's got scary striking. Very scary. I'm just going back and watching some of it now again. Very scary striking, very nasty 1-2, really mean hook. And it's almost like the UFC is determined to have Chris Gutierrez lose to Asian guys that are really good at boxing. They had him fight Song Yadong his last time around, and Quang Lee's hands are scary. He might have a little bit more power. And if this fight stays where it is as the co-main event, I mean, it sort of makes sense because Quang Lee, he looks to be a really hot prospect. So keep an eye on him. Undefeated right now. The LFA is kind of like the biggest feeder organization out of North America to the UFC. And all I'm seeing out of this guy is just a ton of knockouts recently. So, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but his Twitter is just a lot of LFA highlights right now. So, and Chris Gutierrez hasn't shown me anything recently that's, really made me jump at him and go hey, he's definitely going to beat a guy making his UFC debut. I don't know. I mean, it's tough because this is a big question, and I don't know if this fight's going to stay where it is because it looks like it's recently announced. They don't even have votes on Tapology yet, but I might just have to take, or the odds aren't even listed, but I might have to take the risky pick here and just go with Quang Bang Lee. I think that's going to be the way I'm going to go because I'm not too hot on Chris Gutierrez, and this guy's hands are scary. What do you think?
Quang Lee is stepping in as of today. Here you go. First round knockout is what they were talking about April 5th. He's stepping in on short notice to fight Chris Gutierrez this weekend. This tweet as of 12 hours ago, something like that.
Yeah, so it was just announced then. Pretty
Yeah.
much.
So listen, when I was doing some research on Quang Lee, I saw some submissions via Khabib choke, standing submission. And like you said, Chris Gutierrez is definitely has some experience inside of the UFC, coming from a very solid gym too. He's going to have experience, but I think Quang Lee, like you said, if he touches you, he can put you out. And like you said, LFA still going out there and putting guys down over there. 6-3, Sal Guerrero. 6-1, Cody Peterson. 6-3, Tiao Thang. Henry Hoof at 4-3 submission choke. That's the one I believe I saw. And decision over Sam Penitz. Young in his career, it makes me wonder. I don't know a ton about him. Makes me wonder if he's new to MMA. Five fights ago, he was 3-0, and he was only 2 years ago as of now. So, this guy is young. Honestly, that makes me kind of want to sway a little bit to Chris Gutierrez, being that he's so young in his MMA experience at 32 years old. You got to figure maybe he's been training since he's 25, 26, 27, 28, something like that, or at least professional around that time. He probably has kickboxing background, which is why we've seen so many knockouts of him. I think he's going to have better striking than Chris Gutierrez. Chris Gutierrez is probably going to shoot. We've seen Quang Lee get that submission victory over some lesser competition. My concern is that Chris Gutierrez is going to be able to provide that more well-rounded MMA style of fighter to Quang Lee, and he may not be ready for it. But then again, it seems like more fun to go for Quang Lee, so I'm going with Quang Lee. Have you been able to find any odds or anything on this, or?
No, not yet. I was trying to see if like Quang Lee had any professional combat sports experience before stepping into MMA, because he is a little bit older at 32, and I couldn't find anything. And his Instagram doesn't have a lot of followers. It's not like he's like super highly touted. It's just, I mean, LFA like kind of had him, they had their eyes on him. They were kind of blasting him out on social media. It looks like a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Like it's a weird fight because like his hands are scary, but also you don't know what caliber of competition he's fighting. The LFA is not bad, but Chris has been in there with some really good guys.
Pretty long amateur career.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Bunch of submissions, rear naked chokes, punch, knockouts, submission, and then we see this guy have a lot more. He has a lot more submissions than he does knockout power. That makes me feel better. I'm going, definitely with him now, because I think even if Chris Gutierrez does take him down, look, he's like double booked.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I guess this one's gonna be out. Because supposed to be on the contender series, just steps in, fight Chris Gutierrez. You wonder if the moment may get to him. But look at this: 2 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission, 3 wins by decision. An all-around good fighter. When it's up against lower level of competition, let's see what he can do in the UFC. It's exciting.
And how do you feel about, because Chris Gutierrez was originally supposed to fight Javid Basharat? How do you feel like that's going to affect this fight at all?
Well, 100%. I think Javid Basharat is a kickboxer. No, I mean he's actually got good amount of submission wins and also 6 wins by knockout, bunch of decision wins. I think. No, Javid Basharat, a lot of good submissions. I don't know who I was thinking of.
Yeah, John. But Quang Lee's strike, it's going to be either way. He's fighting an all around fighter, and you look at the odds. Chris Gutierrez was originally a plus Javid, so I'm just curious to see how this is going to shape out once they announce these. Once they put the lines out for this fight, I guess once it becomes set. But I think I might roll with. I think I might roll with Quang Lee. Just why not? We've seen some guys come in and make debuts and go crazy. Like just short notice stuff. Who knows?
And
maybe I'll make it
and himself. Tapology has this fight as the co-main. I don't know if Chris Gutierrez and Javid Basharat was the co-main before, so they just inserted him here to get reshuffled around. I think it's an interesting fight from a stylistic matchup perspective. These guys are really close in age. it actually kind of makes me want to pick Chris Gutierrez knowing that. But I'm going to go with the fun pick in Quentin Lee.
All right. And now a fight that shouldn't last too long might be fun. Marcin Tybura versus Sergey Spivac. And Sergey Spivac was on a little bit of a run there. He's 3-2 over his last 5, but those 3 wins for Sergey were pretty significant. And for a little bit there, it felt like he was going to, like maybe he would have fought for something, because he's one of these like sloppy heavyweights in a way that like he doesn't really, his physique wouldn't tell you that he trains at all or spends any time in a gym whatsoever. Marcin Tybura looks like a little bit more chiseled, but Sergey Spivac carries that gut. Anyways, I think Sergey Spivac, though, like, yeah, his grappling was looking good. His striking was looking good up until he came across Cyril Gane, and Cyril Gane just pieced him up. But Cyril's a hard guy to, put your hands on if you're not an elite striker, which Sergey relies more on his grappling. We've seen Marcin Tybura get into bad spots with his grappling, give up his back quite often. I think that Sergey against Marcin is going to be able to do enough to close the distance, land a takedown, and probably choke out Marcin Tybura. So I'm going to go with Sergey Spivac here, just to be a little bit more active on his feet to start the fight. A little bit more in Marcin's face. It's like the way that we've seen Sergey fight more recently, as opposed to his first fight against Marcin Tybura. We've seen Sergey Spivac be like more of the aggressor, and Marcin Tybura likes to like kind of sit back, be a little bit more squatty. So yeah, I'm going to roll with Spivac here. Most likely, I think, by submission, honestly. Either that or he's going to ground and pound him out. So I'm going to go with Sergey. What do you think, Tom?
The only thing is when they fought 4 years ago, let me share this tab. When they fought 4 years ago, I want to show the statistics here. Tripled the output Marcin Tybura did on Sergey Spivac. Doubled the significant strikes almost, and even though he wasn't able to take Sergey Spivac down a ton, he tried 8 times, got him down 2 times. I wish this would give us a little bit more of the stats. I can go and find it later, but I don't know if it's going to change my opinion too much. We've seen a lot different. If that was 4 years ago, that was a 21-year-old Sergey Spivac, or should I say he was 25 years old at the time. He was 10-1. That was only his second career loss. When we're looking at this page here. I think they're much different fighters this time around. Now 29 years old, entering his prime. We've seen him be the aggressor. Also, you mentioned physiques. At that time, Sergey Spivac was a lot less chiseled, a lot more flubby. Now he's 256 pounds, but he's a lot more jacked. And I would actually put Marcin Tybura as the one at 247 to be a little bit more on the flubbier side. So I think Sergey Spivac had shown good, or at least solid takedown defense. But he wasn't able to take Marcin Tybura down. I think we'll probably see him be able to get Tybura down with a lot more ease. I mean, he was able to submit Derek Lewis, a guy known for just getting up and jiu-jitsu not working on him. So Sergey Spivac being able to do that to a guy like Derek Lewis, I think actually says a lot. And then they went to a decision when he was, 25 years old. Those 4 or 5 years of effort and work and challenge, I think is going to pay dividends for Sergey Spivac. He's got the loss to Tom Aspinall, sure. Then he beats up Greg Hardy, as you would hope, beats up Augusto Sakai, as you would hope, and then gets that submission win over Derek Lewis. And like he said, people were really high on him, comes back against Cyril Gane, he gets knocked out via punches. Good news is Marcin Tybura doesn't possess the dynamicism or the power of a Cyril Gane. You look at his last 5, his losses to Alexander Volkov, which I think is Alexander Volkov and Sergey Spivac. I think Sergey is molding himself into some sort of a second version or 2.0 version of Alexander Volkov and being a big Moldovan/Russian. He's obviously a lot smaller than Volkov, and Volkov has a lot of striking, and now he's getting grappling. I think Spivac is, give him 3, 4, 5 more years, and I think we're going to see him follow the Alexander Volkov trend, but just a little bit earlier in his career. For whatever reason, my brain is just connecting those 2 dots. So I think we might see a similar game plan here against Marcin Tybura that Alexander Volkov have. Sergey Spivac to take a very similar one, be long on the feet, These guys have very similar measurables, but I think he's just going to be quicker. He's going to land more powerful punches. He has the ground game that I think is going to be much improved than the last time they fought. And you look at who Marcin Tybura fought. He had a decision victory over Alexander Romanov, who really can't do anything beyond that first round. And as you want to talk about a guy who's downsliding, Romanov is at the top of that list. And then Blagoy Ivanov, which, Blagoy is still fighting, but Blagoy is like 39, 40, maybe even be 40 plus years old, has been stabbed in his lifetime. Like, that's a win that you should pick up, and picking it up by decision. It's just not an exciting fight that we're getting out of Marcin Tybura. He's got the loss to Tom Aspinall, of course, and then a win via submission over Tai Tuivasa, a guy known where if you can get him down, he really doesn't have much for you. So I think Sergey Spivac it's going to be a race to take each other down, but I just think Sergey Spivac at 29 years old is getting better and is going to be more dynamic than Marcin Tybura, and I trust him to get this one done, whether it ends up being by ground and pound, whether it ultimately ends up being by submission or a decision. I don't know if I see it being like a straight 1-2 punch knockout, but I could definitely see it being of a knockout variety, meaning TKO.
Yeah, it's not going to be a 5-round fight, and I think it's going to be like some form of smothering, like you said, like a TKO, maybe like a smothering ground and pound, or like a smothering scarf choke or something like that. Just something that's like, all right, now the two big guys are laying on each other and making each other uncomfortable until one guy's going to submit, basically.
I wonder if Tybura's gone 5 rounds.
He's going 3 at least. He is a little bit more of a decision machine than Spivac.
Yeah, he's gone 3.
Yeah. He's definitely main evented before, though.
Yeah, but I think he's gotten knocked out in it, meaning he's prepared for 5.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think
he lost the second round of 5. So has Sergey Spivac, was round 1, got the finish there. Given a lot of earlier finishes, and then he wouldn't have had a 5-round fight prior. So it could potentially be the first time either of these guys goes for 5 rounds.
Dude, you look jacked in that picture.
That's what I've been saying, dude. I think you remember him younger in his career. He's gonna surprise you. Let me see if I can find a more
recent picture. He's my pick.
No, I mean with his aesthetic.
Oh yeah, he's definitely not as just straight blubbery as he used to be. Like you can tell he's putting in the work, Well, we'll see on Saturday. That'll tell us really. Yeah, he looks like kind of jacked again.
He keeps his shirt on so that he kind of surprises.
Oh, look at that hair. He doesn't look. He's got kind of abs, unless he photoshopped that shit.
Yeah, I don't think so, man. He trains with some big dudes. Trains with Francis Ngannou.
Oh, so he's at Nick Six Gym. Okay. Interesting. So, yeah, I'm feeling really good about Sergey Spivac, unless Marcin Tybura plays spoiler to him, which he's done to people before, but I don't think it's going to happen Saturday. Anyways, you want to do our pick rundown real quick and put a bow on this thing?
Yeah, let's do it. All right.
You want to go first?
Sure. I will go first, even though the camera's on you. All right, camera's on me. I am going with, we only picked the main card, so I am going with Chelsea Chandler over Yana Santos. That's a risky pick. Danny Barlow over Nikolay Veretennikov. Chepe Mariscal over Damon Jackson. Screw it, Quang Lee over Chris Gutierrez, and Sergey Spivac over Marcin Tybura. Over to you, Keith.
I'm going with Giannis Santos over Chelsea Chandler. Danny, left hand to God, Barlow over Nikolai Veretennikov. Chepe Mariscal over Damon Jackson. Quang Lee over Chris Gutierrez. And Sergey the Polar Bear Spivac over Marcin Tybura. Just want to say thanks to all you people that watched this week and commented, liked, and subscribed to our channel. Really appreciate the support. Helps us out big time. You can also check us out on Instagram and X @_Pickin winners, @Pickin Keith, @Pickin Fight Tom. That's our personals. And you can also find us on Spotify for audio, video, all that good stuff. You can listen to us on the go using Spotify. I think that's pretty cool. So Anyways, Tom, thank you for being here. Appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your, Tuesday, out of your Tuesday evening, preparing
For
for a
sure.
storm. Best of luck
For
to you
sure.
with that. It's a shame you got to leave Aruba and come right back to, well, you're still in paradise. It's just a couple of days.
I mean, listen, life is paradise if you're in the right mindset. Am I right?
And on that note, hasta luego.
It'd be great if I had that ending all